Welcome. Glad everybody could be here today. This time we'll call the Wednesday, April 8th meeting of the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Commission to order. And first item, as always, is our prayer and pledge of allegiance. Eddie Smotherman's going to lead us in that. Eddie?
If you would, please bow your head. Lord, thank you for this wonderful day in Murfreesboro. We thank you for your many blessings. Please be with this commission that we make decisions today that are right and just and best for our community. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Eddie. Everyone should have received their packet earlier. Contained in the packet were the minutes from our previous meeting on March 4th. This time we'll entertain any changes or corrections that need to be made. If there are none, a motion for acceptance.
I move approval of the minutes.
Gloria, thanks. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Mitzi, thank you. Great work as always. We'll dig right into new business now. We've got a lot of distinguished visitors with us today. Welcome, everybody. First item is a consideration for the approval of the Miracle League Field with Project 1-4. Lanny?
Yes, sir. Chairman and members of the commission, really excited about this project. There's an opportunity to partner with a local foundation, which is Project 1-4 Foundation. And it's a charitable foundation that was set up by Major League pitcher David Price. And we have there's parents here, Mr. Bonnie and Debbie Price, along with Mr. Michael Hazlett, who is representing them as well. And, of course, we've got City Manager Rob Lyons and Mayor Shane McFarland is with us as well. And I know we've been talking about this project. What this is, the Miracle League is an organization that promotes baseball for children with special needs. And you've probably seen some of that, and we've got some pictures that we want to bring up and just kind of show you the action and what happens. The field is a totally rubberized field. It makes it accessible for children with special needs, and it's a partnership. It's where somebody is buddied with other folks as you go through, and you can see the pictures of the field and the activities that's going on. But it really makes it a multi-purpose facility, and that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the Price Foundation helping raise the funds for that. We're looking at somewhere around $400,000 just for the basic field. If we add other amenities, lights, restrooms, etc., which is things that we'll want to consider as we get into this, you could invest somewhere around $1 million. But if you start looking at the pictures and you start seeing the impact of what it does to a community and the way it brings the community together to serve children with special needs, and it is just so motivating. If you look at the quote at the bottom, it says, "What is the Miracle League? It's hope, determination, and a display of human spirit that is unequaled." And of course, there's baseball. So that is what it's all about. It's supported by Major League Baseball. I know that's why the Prices are involved with it. And they have a special connection to the community with David and his connection to Major League Baseball. And so I think Ms. Price wants to come up and say something. So, Ms. Price.
Yes, I thought I'd just let you know that David definitely was exposed to the Miracle League when he was playing for the Tampa Bay Rays. down in St. Pete because the Rays organization had helped build the field, and David would go and pitch to the kids. Of course, he would say that he'd had more home runs hit on that field than any other field that he'd ever pitched on. But he was pretty excited to think that maybe we could do that here in Rutherford County, even at the McKnight Field where, David played his first baseball. That's where he learned how to play baseball. So he wanted, us to approach the city with the possibility of being able to help fund this project and maybe even get another foundation or two involved in it. And so we're excited that if it works out, and it seems like maybe we've kind of got a field or two that's identified in that area that we think would work real well. And not only can it be used for special needs, but even for like little T-ball leagues and whatnot. It's a good surface for them just to kind of learn how to play baseball. It's very. I just know that in the Tampa Bay area or the St. Pete area, they had definitely used it for even T-ball league, along with the special needs. So it got a lot of use. In addition to having the special needs children there. So we're excited about it. So we hope it comes to fruition and we can get moving on it. And, of course, I know David, even during his off season, he'd love to be here and maybe witness what's going on. So I think that's it, unless y'all had any other questions or anything.
Thanks, Debbie. Does anybody have any questions for Lanny, Debbie, anybody in?
Just want to mention that I know Ms. Price mentioned McKnight, and most of you know we've had 2 temporary softball fields there for the last 14 or 15 years in front of Sportscom, and that's kind of where we're looking, that particular area there. I know that we've talked about other amenities that would work in conjunction with that, maybe an accessible playground beside of it. But Ms. Price is exactly right. In other cities where they have Miracle League fields, they use them for multipurpose fields. Small kids play on them when they have rainouts, etc. And working the schedule so that it accommodates the Miracle League along with a lot of other things. So there's a lot of utility to the field, and it would be a great addition to our city.
Just one comment, if I could. This is exciting. We, in the school system, identify special needs children when they're 3. So when you're talking about T-ball, I can see even our younger children being able to use this. So I think it's terrific.
Mm-hmm. We personally know some families with special needs, and they've made the comment about how nice it would be for their son or daughter who goes to other siblings' ball games, and all they can do is sit and watch. But to give them the opportunity to actually participate in the game, they know would mean a whole lot to their self-esteem and confidence, and so that they're excited to think that maybe this will come to be. So,
Ms. Price,
Okay.
I would just like to say thank you personally for David's contribution to not only our community, but for the sake of giving back. I think the measurement of our city will be not how we treat our best athlete, but how we treat those who are the most challenged athletes.
Right.
And I think that's the real measurement, and something that I take a lot of pride in our city.
right. Well, and we're pretty proud of our little foundation too. It's pretty small right now, but we're this might be our breakout year. I don't know. We've got a lot of big things planned, but we, all the funds that we raise goes right back into mostly this local community. We branch out a little bit into Bedford County, but definitely Middle Tennessee. We pay no salaries out of our foundation, so every dollar we raise goes right back out. We're excited to maybe take on this larger project. We haven't taken on something as large as this before, but we feel like we, in our promotion, can really get people really behind this and maybe get some nice corporate donations to go along with it, and we're excited.
Well, to accomplish big things, you have to dream big.
There you go. Yeah.
And let me add just a little bit to it and tell you a little bit about why we're here in front of you today. What we think this is an incredible opportunity, as you all have said, but really a couple reasons. We want to make sure we're heading in the right direction, but secondly is Project 1.4 and the prices go to seek other fundraising opportunities and raise money for it. It's one thing to raise money for an idea. It's a different one when you say the city's willing to be a partner, the city is committed to moving in this direction. It gives some level of assurance. So we know there's a lot of work to do in spelling out the program and how it's going to work. But if we get the head nods and you're heading in the right direction, that'll allow us to keep pushing forward. It'll give the prices some level of comfort, knowing that the city backs it as they begin to approach people, other foundations and the private sector for some fundraising. So we think this really starts to build that momentum of a great project.
Thanks, Rob. Any other questions or comments?
I think the mayor has a comment as well.
Shane?
Just one quick comment. First of all, to say thank you for the prices and their foundation. And also I was just telling them that David had a great opening day this week, represented Rutherford County very well. But about 10 months ago, met with Miss Lindsay Fournier, who I think most of y'all know. They just got finished a couple of weekends ago having what they call James and Ruby's Big Adventure at Raintree Salon. It's in conjunction with Special Kids. The Air family and the Fournier family both have special needs children that will motivate each one of us. But one of the things that we talked about was we have a lot of ADA accessible facilities in Murfreesboro for our parks and recreation and also for our playgrounds, but we truly don't have one that's dedicated to special needs, that maybe sensory items for children with autism and different things. And what I'm envisioning, and when this first came and met with the price, is that we think globally more than just the miracle field, but how do we make this a true experience for the whole special needs community. And that's one of the things that we're excited about, to think how we make this a true larger project. And I think Mr. Lyons is exactly right to make sure that headed in the right direction, that we have the support of the commission. So, and thank you for what each of you do in making this a big city that lives inside of a park. So that's something we're proud of. Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's get this ball rolling. This is a fantastic project. I'm ready to get behind it.
Landy, do you have any ideas yet, or are you far enough into it to have any opinion of where it might be located?
Well, that's what I was saying earlier, Mr. Smotherman. We've got the area where we've had the temporary 2 softball fields at McKnight. We think that's a really good area to focus on. It's in McKnight Park, which is the entrance of the prices. It's accessible. It's an area that needs improvement. So, it's really kind of a win-win in looking at that location and what we're trying to do with this program.
If you would, consider looking at next to Kids Castle as well, because, this is going to be a huge, nice surface for children to play on. And yeah. Kids Castle we seem to be getting more and more orientated with it towards meeting kids with special needs and those with disabilities. And it certainly would be a marquee spot that you would be visible from basically one of our gateways coming into our community, so it would be very visible for people coming to our town to recognize where our heart is. And so it, either place is fine. I was, when you first mentioned it, I thought about the couple of the projects that we've had out there recently, trying to put some special equipment in place that was more targeted towards those with special needs. And because this is such a large surface, I think that it may, it's close to the greenway system. It seems to have a lot of attributes out there as well. So, not trying to make a case for it. I just think, I'm sure where we wind up with, it'll be fine.
Yes, sir.
With the McKnight, sorry to go from Kids Castle area back to McKnight. With the McKnight location, is the thinking because, I mean, I know it's all up in the air at the moment, but is the thinking to replace or in the fields that are next to those two
It would be to replace.
pretty permanent, temporary?
It would be to replace.
Okay. So then we're shortening 2 more fields. we're giving up 2 fields.
And there's limited usage now with those fields, just because they're not lit. They were built temporary.
Right.
And we've talked about taking them out. We haven't. Like we said, if we build this, it'll have other utilities. We could play the small softball teams on there as well. So really not looking at giving up, I would think, but just enhancing and adding to.
Good stuff. Any other questions or comments? Alani, do you want
We
actual
would
formal motions
we would
from this?
like a motion to
Okay.
support this project and move forward.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for this project. It's going to be awesome. We'll move now to the Better Boro project. And Nate, is Nate here?
No, sir. Nate is working
Nate's
today
working.
with a different group. So I just want to introduce the Better Borough project. And Mayor McFarland is here, and I want to thank him for his participation. He came to us and asked us if we could put something together that would help promote the health and wellness of all the citizens of Murfreesboro. And we've done that. We've come up with what we call the Better Borough Project. We're focusing on health and wellness, healthy living, healthy lifestyles, getting people outside, getting them engaged in activities. And there's going to be different focused activities each month that Mayor McFarland will be engaged in, promoting and leading in some cases. And then we're adding some additional events. I know that one of the things that we'll be adding will be a new 5K run starting January 1, 2016. We'll do that down in the downtown area. So you'll hear more about that as it comes up. But Miss Melinda Tate is here, and she wants to continue the discussion.
Again, the Better Borough Project is an initiative that will promote healthy eating, it will encourage outdoor recreation, and it will provide unique and accessible wellness activities. And each month, of course, everything Parks and Rec does follows those 3 tenets, but we will focus on certain activities each month. For example, this Saturday we're going to have Zumba at Cason Trailhead. Just feel free to come out if you've never tried Zumba before. You can just try it for a few minutes and then walk away. No one will be the wiser. We'll have Tai Chi, yoga classes, outdoor fitness boot camps, guided hikes, boating events. And at this time, I'm seeking approval to provide a giveaway at each one of these events, a 30-day visit premium pass to either Sportscom or Patterson Community Center. And these will be given away to the participants, one participant at each of these events.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Melinda? Shane, will you be at the Zumba class? Wearing those socks?
It's funny, this weekend, I was joking with Lanny, we will be in Cookville at a soccer tournament at 10 o'clock in the morning. So
All right.
I would rather be, believe it or not, Zumbaing. But we're excited about this opportunity. I was in a meeting several months ago at Healthways with the Mayor's Caucus, and they brought up a demographic and a statistic to show how unhealthy Rutherford County is. And so we looked at that, and as a matter of fact, Rutherford County, there's only one county in our MSA that's worse than us, and that's Clarksville. So we were trying to figure ways and brainstorm how we could get people more active. And every quarter, we're going to have at least one large event. We've got a boating event, a hiking event, and then I'm proud to say we haven't finalized everything, but Gordon Ferguson with St. Thomas has jumped on board to say they want to help however they can to be one of our lead groups or sponsors. And also Brandon Witt with Beatty's Farm wants to come on board because they are starting a new farm-to-table concept that's going to be out on Medical Center Parkway, so they want to be involved with this. So we're trying to bring together our community partners and figure ways that we can get people more involved. And our big event is going to be New Year's Day, and we decided New Year's Eve probably wouldn't be a good time for people to come out and run. So New Year's Day may be even a tougher time for some people to come out and run, but we're looking at having a 5K run walk that will take in some of the historic areas of Murfreesboro, and even some cool ideas that we've talked about, maybe running through the courthouse or different things like that. But really would appreciate your help on getting the word out and how we can make this really a community event that everyone will take place in. So we're excited. But no, I won't be there for Zumba, but I would appreciate you taking my place.
I'll also be at soccer Saturday in Coffee County. It sounds like a great program. Are there any other questions or comments from Melinda?
So to clarify, the request is for the 30...
For the 30-day pass.
The 11 30-day passes.
Correct.
Which would be kind of the grand prize that day. People would sign up, would at the end have a drawing and give away a 30-visit pass. It's actually a 30-visit pass. It's good for as long as the pass has a punch on it.
I think we have some from SportsCom when it first opened, somewhere in some drawer that my mother kept.
But we're excited about the program. Promoting health is something that, like Melinda said, the Parks and Recreation Department does. Of course, you know that. Pretty much everything that we do has a health component weave through it, trying to get people in, trying to get you guys out to soccer, to baseball, just getting you up and active and moving. And we really appreciate Mayor McFarland being the spokesman for us and being the person that represents the Better Boro project. So we really think we can improve the health of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County, and we need to get that word out, and we need to get people involved. You heard Mayor McFarland mention a couple of sponsors as you go out into the community. As you engage folks, if there's other people that want to become a part of the movement, by all means, let them know that that's available. Get them in touch with either with me or Mr. Lyons or the mayor, and we'll get them involved in this project. So, and that's what it's about. We want to build a healthier community. We know that a healthier community does a lot of great things. When you're looking at industrial recruitment, they look at the health of the community because they want to know what the health costs are. They want to know how healthy their workforce is going to be, and just all the other side benefits as you go through. So it's a great program, and I think it'll really pay some premiums for us.
All right. Thanks, Lanny. At this time, we need a motion for approval of the items as presented.
I move approval.
Thank you, Laura.
A second?
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Melinda, thanks.
Thank you.
And you're still up.
I'm still up.
We're going to move on to the next item under new business. It's a new program, Do You See What I See?
I'm seeking approval today for a new program called Do You See What I See? And this will be the first of several guided tours, and it's sponsored by Friends of the Greenway. And on National Trails Day, which is Saturday, June 6th of this year, Dr. Kim Sadler, who is a professor of biology at MTSU, she will lead a group on a short walk on a portion of the Greenway, and she'll point out interesting facts about the nature found along the way. The group size will be limited to 20 participants so that they will not impact the normal activities of the Greenway. There will be no charge for this, and Dr. Sadler is donating her time, and I'm seeking approval for this program.
All right.
Are there any questions?
Thanks, Melinda. Anybody have any questions of Melinda regarding the programming?
Good choice on the person that you have leading it.
Oh,
Kim's
she's
a great expert.
amazing.
She is the Glades expert of this country, I think, so good
At
choice.
every Friends of the Greenway meeting, she brings interesting facts about, this time we learned about mollusks and that are found in the Stones River and their purpose. So, full of information.
How regularly going forward, or how frequently going forward, do you foresee or hope to have the future events?
We anticipate probably once a quarter. We wanted to test it out this time and see what the response was. We were thinking about maybe one time having a wildlife photographer come out and lead the walk, or maybe someone, a historian, a Civil War expert. So those types of things.
Any other questions? There are none. We made a motion for approval as presented.
So moved.
Thanks, Lynn.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Melinda, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next item, Lanny's going to take us through two professional service agreements between the city and Lawson Associates. Lanny will discuss both of them at the same time, and then we'll consider both in one motion.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. We do have two professional services agreement for your consideration. The first one deals with the Richard Siegel Soccer Park, and it focuses on the drainage. If you remember, last year we had significant winter kill. We put together a three-part plan, short, medium, and long-range plan. And part of the long-range plan was to have the soccer park back to its full potential by August 15th of 2015. And we've done a lot of things to the soccer park. We've come in, we've worked on the turf, we've worked on a lot of different areas to try to restore that turf. But there's been two areas that we found that are in a critical path that needs to be corrected before we can get it back to what we call its full potential. Number one is the drainage of the park itself. When that park was built, we talked about underground drainage. We talked about having catch basins and piping and so forth, and that was cost prohibitive. So what we ended up with was swales, areas that basically were indentions or swales, or what they're called, where water would go in and it would channel to a particular area. If you're familiar with the soccer park, it's built so it sheet drains. That's the term that they use. And it sheet drains over 2 to 3 fields at a time and then ends up in a particular area. Most of those swales have silted in. And so what we're looking at is going back in, reestablishing the swales that we have, and then adding additional swales along with some French drains and trench drains that would collect the water at certain places and keep it from moving across 3 fields. We would collect it kind of at one field and move it off and so forth. And so that would be one application of this engineering proposal. The other one is to remove and recondition the turf, remove a portion of that because it has thatched in. And if you look at it, we pulled a plug the other day. Matter of fact, we pull plugs on all of the fields. And the fields are very spongy. If you go out there, you find that if you walk on the sides of the fields, the way I describe it, you throw a rug over a mud hole and walk on it, and it's kind of the way it feels. And why is it doing that? Well, when we started plugging those out, we found that it had about 4 inches of thatch before you actually got to the dirt. Normally, you'll have about 1 inch. So what's happening is as the water moves across those fields, it's soaking in, and the thatch is becoming much like a sponge. And so to eliminate those two problems, we've got to redo the drainage, and we need an engineering services to do that because that's going to be quite extensive to go do that. And then we'll need to remove the thatch, and in some of the areas we'll need to resod to get it back to where we can do that. Timetable that we're looking at is trying to have this ready for bid in mid-May and having a contractor ready to go right after the last tournament, which is the first weekend in June. So about mid-June is where we're looking at getting a contractor involved. We think the work will take about 30 days. That should put us at a point to where we can reestablish the turf. We can have it in great shape by the August 15th deadline. But those are the two critical path things that we will be addressing in this particular proposal to bring those fields back to where we said that we would.
Okay. Before we move to the next one, questions and comments about this one?
Questions about that?
Do we foresee, we've got 11 on the lower, 4 more on the upper. Is this something, specifically with the thatch issue, my experience, the upper fields are at places spongier, and then especially like the championship field 11, especially in those corners, the southeast corner is by far the worst. Is it something that we're foreseeing on all the fields, or just specific fields, or specific parts of specific fields?
Ms. Shirley, that's a good question. One of the things we'll be doing, along in conjunction with our turf manager, Mr. Shane Lamb, I'm going to have him working directly with Lowson Associates on this. They'll be targeting those specific areas, like on 11, the championship field. We know that the sidelines, especially near the stands, are probably the worst. So what we'll put in the specifications is to use what we call an athletic field planer, which will come in and it actually just shaves off a portion of that turf. In some cases, it leaves enough stolons and rhizomes that turf will reestablish itself. And that, excuse me, and that's one of the determinations that we'll have to make. How much do we have to take off? Will we take off just enough that it can reestablish itself, or do we take off enough that we have to resod? So we'll be identifying those areas on each one of the fields. And in some of the fields, it may just be that we just need to come in and do the athletic field planing and put some sod back on them.
Right.
Because honestly, when it transitions, we're seeing some Bermuda growth right now, which is a good thing. But we don't know how much it's going to transition and what we're going to be left with once the rye goes away. And what you go out there now and they look really green and pretty, but that's kind of a cover because all that's ryegrass.
Right.
And what you want is a good established Bermuda base for that.
The agreement calls for a straight lump sum, but it feels very uncertain, the amount of work. So, I mean, if we're saying it's going to be this lump sum and they come out and say, wow, this is a lot more than we thought it was going to be, they're not coming back asking for more money.
We've met on site with Lowson Associates. They're well aware of the situation. And what I've just discussed is exactly what we'll be putting in there. So we feel comfortable with the price.
based on the amount of work that I mean, in my referee experience, have seen, but not knowing what all that would truly entail, it feels quite reasonable to me. I was, again, worried that they would come out and say, oh, this is worse than we thought.
Yeah. No, we've spent quite a bit of time out there. Matter of fact, Mr. Davison, who's the vice president of the company, came out, spent an afternoon. We plugged different fields. He looked at those. He came back out just last week with one of his civil engineers, which is a drainage engineer, to look at it. So, and we replugged certain areas. So we've done some pretty extensive field work up front. But we'll need to, one of the things you see in here is GPSing the site and making sure that the contours that we originally placed in the plans are still there. Do we have to make some modifications to the drainage plan to make it fit the contours now? So there's several things that goes into this.
Lenny?
Yes,
You did
sir.
a great job explaining it from the swells on down. I understand why the work needs to be done. And Lawson Associates have always done a very good job. But this is a question I've been meaning to ask for about a year now. We have grown to the point where we now have a turf manager. Has there ever been any consideration or conversation as to whether we should have an engineer or two on the payroll who could do this work? Because it seems to be common and in every phase of the work we do in Parks and Recreation.
Mm-hmm. It's a consideration. It's something that we could discuss with the city. Larger departments, and we're becoming a larger department.
Right, we are, without question.
Generally have a landscape architect on staff that does. They're part of the planning department.
I mean, it does
and they
seem
do
that
those
we'd
kind of
keep them
things.
very busy and perhaps have a huge cost savings that could go toward other programs. Just want to throw that out for y'all's consideration.
So anyway, that's the proposal on the first one. Do you want me to move to the second one?
Are there any other questions, comments about this one before we move on?
Lanny, let me ask real quickly.
Okay.
Will there be anything to prevent this from reoccurring? I mean, you mentioned that thatch was 4 inches deep in some areas. I mean, I'm assuming that we've got clippings that are flowing downhill with the water, and you're just talking about how the water sheds. Is basically that what we're experiencing, just the accumulation of those clippings in one area?
Well, it's Mr. Smotherman, it's accumulation of a lot of things. If you go to the soccer fields after play, which I know several members on the commission can tell you, after kids play, you can see remnants of grass that has been pulled out. You can see certain areas that are worn more than others, muddy. Because we do sheet drain, it catches all of that along with the grass clippings. What we'll try to do in the future, and one of the things the turf managers talked about, is the cultural practices that we need to adopt and raise in terms of verticutting, which is going through and removing a lot of that thatch and keeping that turf open, and then doing some other things to make sure that the buildup of thatch and so forth is held to a minimum. We even talked the other day. I know when I used to, back in my career, mow Bermuda grass, we caught all the clippings. We had baskets on our mowers. So we're looking at different things, and you'll probably, as a council, see us come forward with some additional equipment that we're going to ask for those cultural practices. But I feel real comfortable with Mr. Lamb. He's doing a great job. I think the program that he's going to adopt and start maintaining those fields with, and those cultural practices will help that in the future.
Well, I think the fact that we had basically not aerated in quite some time, and the fact that we weren't picking up any clippings, and we created this problem. I mean, and nature helped us with it. But the question is are we going to be proactive and make sure that it doesn't happen again? And I think that's will come through equipment, and of course the turf management guy who's going to be looking at it is going to, I think, encourage us to do that. I mean, we can grow Bermuda grass on a rock if you've got heat and water, but as far as ryegrass, I mean, you've got to have some sort of contact with the soil, and I'm surprised there's any grass on 4 inches of thatch, but other than Bermuda, but it does sound like something that, you know, it's something you'll have to do. I mean, we don't have a whole lot of choice in this case. If we're going to have a soccer field there, we have to get this thatch out of the way. So.
That's correct.
All right. Let's move to the next one, Mike.
The next one deals with the development of the soccer practice area. That was again in our long-range plan. This is something that I brought to you last time, and we approved to move forward with the architectural engineering. Why I put this back in here is to tell you that we have gone to the Water and Sewer Board to have a discussion with them, and they approved that on the conceptual side so we could move forward with our A&E on the development of the practice soccer field. The one concern was the remuneration of monies because that property was bought to put reprocessed water on, repurified water on. And that's their main purpose for that. Now, what we have said is that we'll be using repurposed water for irrigation. And so how much we use, I think, will depend on, you know, the amount of the cost for the lease of the property. But that's where the next phase would get into. The city would enter into a lease agreement with the Water and Sewer Board. Parks and Recreation would budget to pay whatever the cost of the loss of that property would be. If we can put the same amount of water on it that they're putting on it, it may be $1 a year. If they lose 20%, then we'll need to look at that. But that was one of the concerns that I wanted to bring back to this board and let you know where we're headed with this project. I had this on the council agenda for approval for this week, and council's not meeting this week, so it'll be on the council agenda next week for both A&E proposals. But I wanted to bring you up to date on where we were with that.
Thanks, Lane. Questions or comments regarding this agreement?
The amount spelled out in the agreement, the $46,000, how does that fall into the budget template that was given to Water Board? And we saw previously, I didn't see a dollar for dollar match, so trying to sort how does that fall into the Jordan property schedule.
That again is on top of the 850 or so that
that's on
you
top
see
of it.
there.
Okay.
Right.
That's why I couldn't find it.
Right. That would be on top of that.
How many of our properties do we irrigate with spray fluent?
Just Siegel Soccer Park at this point.
Which is a pretty big user.
Well, and I'll take that back. The new 16 outdoor courts, tennis courts at Old Fort Park, we do those as well. And then Old Fort Golf Course is also uses repurified water. The Gateway Trail area around the island, which is all of the water that's in the lake at Gateway Island is reprocessed as well. I keep forgetting about that.
I just want to make the point, I mean, we are a large disposer of a spray of fluent water for the Water and Sewer Board.
Right. And that'll be a part of the discussion as well.
Okay. Want to make sure.
Put on the record.
I'll tell John next time I see him. Is there any other questions, comments? This is good stuff. I'm really excited about the practice facility. I think it's going to be, in addition to what it's going to do for soccer, I think it's just going to be an awesome green space and a great utilization for a site right now that's just receiving spray water.
And that's 6.5 full-size
Yeah.
fields.
Okay. If there are no other questions, we need a motion for approval of the 2 agreements as presented.
I move that we approve the 2 agreements as presented.
All right, thanks, David.
Could that be subject to legal approval? There is one change in the terms we need to make.
Subject to legal approval.
Thank you, Kelly. Is there a second?
I second.
Thanks, Gloria. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved. Thanks, Lanny.
Thank you.
Last but certainly not least, Becky, you are up. Tell us about all of the upcoming events.
Good afternoon, everyone. As soon as I get to my, first we have camps. We've been registering since March 1st for camps, and we just want to make sure that everybody is aware of the opportunity to sign up for our programs. We have sports camp, cheer camp, guard start camp, theater camp, heritage camp, and a babysitter's camp that have space available. We have all of our outdoor camps are full and have wait lists, but if you would like to call and be put on the wait list, you may. And also our artist camp is full, so we are trying to encourage people to plan for summer and get your kiddos signed up for some of our awesome summer camps. We have we're kicking off the 3rd Friday night concert series at Cannonsburg again, and Friday, April 17th, they will have the band Rooted Wings, and then Friday, May 15th, will be Uptown Country, and those are, of course, the 3rd Friday of the month, and it's from 7 to 9 for free at Cannonsburg Village. Then we also have Sunshine Players presents the One Act Fest. This is very exciting. These are 5 10-minute plays that are student-written and directed. So when you come and watch these plays, these are children or teenagers who have written these plays, directed it, and really kind of taken it on themselves. So that should be a whole lot of fun, and that is April 24th, 25th, and 26th. The Friday and Saturday shows are at 7, and the Sunday show is at 2 p.m. It is $5 per ticket. We encourage you to purchase tickets ahead of time, and you may call 615-642-3148 to reserve those tickets. Our plays have been selling out, so we strongly encourage people to pre-order those tickets. Then we have our 39th annual Pioneer Days. This is Saturday, April 25th from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. at Cannonsburg Village. They'll have cloggers, old-time music, crafters, hay rides, blacksmith demonstration. The Art League will be there, the Antique Auto Show, and a whole lot more. It is free to the public to attend. There will be vendors, so if you make any purchases, there'll be fees for those, but it is free for everyone. Saturday, April 25th from 10 a.m. to 4 at Cannonsburg Village. Then we have the Sunday Symphony in the Park, which is with the Tennessee Valley Winds. That is Sunday, May 3rd at Old Fort Park Pavilion number 3. It starts at 2 p.m. and it is free for everyone. And that is also sponsored by Friends of the Greenway. Barfield Beach Party. Summer is coming soon. That'll be Friday, May 8th. It starts at 5 p.m. at Barfield Crescent Park. Free. It's for all ages, and they have over 60 tons of sand that they bring out there to the park before they dress the baseball fields, and they just have a huge party in the sand. It's a great time. Then with swim season soon to be upon us, we have the free swim lesson day, and that is Saturday, May 8th. It starts at 8 a.m. and ends at noon at Patterson Park Pool. It is free for ages 5 to 13, and it's just to kind of come on out and check out swim lessons and see what opportunities there are available to sign your children up for swim lessons. And the programs that I mentioned today and many of our ongoing programs and events can all be found on the website at murfreesborotn.gov/parks. We have our downloadable rec connection. We have our Facebook pages, and you may contact the main office at 615-890-5333.
All right. Lots of stuff as always, Becky.
Yes.
And that's just the highlights.
Yes, just the highlights. There's many more.
Any questions for Becky? Thanks for being here as always.
Thank you.
All right, that's all of new business. Is there any other business to come before the commission?
Yeah, Dee, I had a few questions for Lanny. Concerned about the soccer, I guess the impact of soccer on the city of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. It seemed like we get a lot of usage. Is there any point in time when those soccer fields are not being used?
Mr. Turner, those fields are used all the time. And we have more and more demand placed on those fields every year. Mm-hmm. When we first moved out there, the fields are now, this will be the 10th year.
Right.
When we first moved out, we were thinking, we came from the small fields at McKnight to the 130-acre, 118 developed at Siegel. We were thinking, gosh, we got all this room, and which fields are we going to let them play on and all this? Now we're saying, where are we even going to put people? We've got 4 leagues, 4 different soccer leagues that are wanting space. Of course, Murfreesboro Soccer Club is the largest, actually the second largest league in the state. Mm-hmm. And we play everything from the little kids all the way through the adults. One of the reasons that we're looking out of, how can we improve play, but how can we increase play and not hurt the facility anymore? One of the ways is we can reduce the amount of practice on there. So for every game, you're going to have 2, if not 3 to 4 practices. Mm-hmm. And so, if you think of that, the ratio of practices is a lot higher than the ratio of games. So building the additional practice soccer fields is one of the areas that we're looking at. One of the other areas that we've been sitting down and talking with City Schools about, and City Schools is expanding their athletic opportunities for their students, is developing school parks. And at school parks, we would have also available athletic facilities, baseball, soccer, other amenities, tennis, etc., which could be dual purpose, from the school using them for their activities and curriculum, and parks using them as areas that we could expand programs or offer practices and so forth. So as we continue to grow, 2035 tells us we're going to be over 200,000 next 20 years. We're going to have to look for those different opportunities. And we're a big sports community. Right. Whether it's baseball or soccer or softball, we just continue to produce really great athletes. We saw the prices here earlier, and we can just sit and name all the other great athletes that's come out of Murfreesboro. So I know that's kind of a long answer for your
my question too is how are we taking care of these fields? Do we have a tarp for them? Do we cover the fields up, or we just, my thing is if they're being used that much, that many times, and that many people on them up and down, eventually it's gonna wear them out. You know what I'm saying? Even in the I'm not a farmer, but I heard about crop rotation. You just can't plant the same crop. You got to give it rest. You got to let that field grow. You got to give it a breather. It seems like we're overusing these soccer fields, and because we're not giving them no rest. And also, it seemed like our whole budget, the Parks and Recreation budget, is all about soccer. I know soccer is the hottest thing now, but, there's other things, basketball, there's football, there's tennis. It seemed like we should maybe allot so much money for different activities. Just don't put all our eggs in one basket. It's soccer, swimming. Some people may want to swim. So I know I've heard a lot of concern about Murfreesboro becoming a soccer town. It's it's all about soccer, but let us not forget the other recreation activities as well. Besides more than just soccer in the city. That I'm sure if we was to build more basketball courts or big auditoriums for basketball or more baseball fields, that would bring in people too, or even more places to swim here in Murfreesboro. I remember as a kid growing up, we always had two what I call watering holes, Oakland Park and Patterson Park to swim in. But I think you still have, with the YMCA, you have, I guess, 3 now. So I just want us to be kind of mindful of, other things besides the soccer fields as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And just to kind of echo what you're saying, we do work with the soccer league. We ask them to rotate the fields, and they understand that. And so doing those kind of things, relieving some of the practice, we've got soccer leagues that are now, or teams that are practicing on school sites and other places in the park, and rotating the fields and doing so forth, I think is helping with those. And then, of course, the turf manager is a huge improvement in getting the cultural practices, and that helps as well. But let me say this. I know we've talked a lot about soccer, but we got a $6 million tennis facility coming in right now. And I've redone 3 of the school sites for tennis. We just don't talk about it as much, I think, as other things. But we dedicate a lot of time to the other sports, baseball. We need to build some more baseball fields. It's been 15 years since we built baseball fields. Right. And I know we've talked about the West Park, and that's one of the top priorities when we get to West Park. Let's talk about baseball and softball fields and how we're going to develop those. But it does seem like we've talked about soccer a lot, and we're trying to make sure that all the facilities are in great shape. Right. One of the first things I asked the turf manager to do was go around and evaluate all the turf, baseball, softball, and everything. He came back and he says, "Man, your baseball and softball fields look great." He said, "But I got to work on those soccer fields." Right. So that's kind of where we are with those things.
Well, but if you look at the baseball and softball fields, they get a break, though. You see what I'm saying? It's off season for them, but soccer seems like it's all year sports. Though,
they don't get much break.
Yeah,
Mr.
don't get
Turner.
much break. So,
well, Ricky, that goes back to the importance of the practice facility.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so we can give that natural grass the break that it needs to recover and do the things that you're talking about.
Right.
And Lanny's exactly right. I mean, we are between the tennis facilities and I guess SportsCom, the gateway to the Boro Beach, and there's a lot going on that we don't talk about in this meeting, and it does seem like here lately we've had a whole lot of emphasis on talking about soccer fields, and I think that goes back to maybe a winter ago. But hopefully we'll get these soccer fields worked out at some point, and that's part of my emphasis a while ago was we need to make sure that we get it to the management level rather than having to make major changes to these soccer fields with such regularity. But I mean, there's a lot going on in Murfreesboro. If you talk to people who visit our town for spring fling, they talk about how nice our track and field area is, how nice our baseball fields are throughout the city. I mean, and we're a title town. I mean, we've got a lot of basketball going on and a lot of football and a lot of other sports going on, which that we don't talk about them as much because we haven't seemed to focused on those facilities and called them what they are. But I mean, SportsCom is a basketball facility, and so we are focusing on those things, even though maybe we're not talking about them in every meeting. McFadden Community Center, that's a basketball facility as well, and so even though we may not talk about them in every meeting, we're busy with them.
Well, and just last month, we ended our youth league basketball. We had 140 teams, second largest league in our city. So it keeps us busy.
Great points, Ricky. Is there any other business?
Lenny, I wanted to share with the commission. I had about 2 weeks ago when it finally stopped raining and got up to 80 degrees. Had an opportunity to go visit Rogers Park, our neighborhood park, and went out and saw some things that had fallen into disrepair over the winter, but had seen there were 50 to 75 people out enjoying our park, enjoying our new swing set. I still love that aspect. But I just wanted to share the follow-up. I went back out and saw some of the folks, because after I shared with Lanny about the nets were ripped and worn and that somebody had driven on the field, that your follow-up and the employees, and I see Nate's here now. I wanted to say thank you. The folks who were out there playing on that soccer field, there's a soccer field at Rogers Park that gets a ton of use. They were thrilled. They felt like Christmas had come early with the new nets and the adjustments to the field. So thank you. The folks were very, very appreciative. They didn't have a clue where or how, but they told me, and I was like, I'll pass it on. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Linda?
Yes, I'm told that the legislature will go home pretty soon. I have hope that they will. But one of the bills that's being considered is the Guns and Parks bill. If we could have some kind of report on that, perhaps at the next meeting, so that we're very clear about what impact, if any, that would have on us. I know it's something we certainly will be looking at with schools, but hopefully we will have some clarification, and I guess, Kelly, that'll fall to you, please. But I think it's important for this commission to understand exactly what that bill says whenever it fleshes out, and I certainly expect that to happen within the next week or two.
Yeah, we should be able to do that at the next meeting. Good idea. Excellent points, good comments. Is there any other business? If there is none, we stand adjourned. Thank you.